Hello guys, it's been a while since I last had a video with you with regards investment on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. So today, I think we've done 4 months since the beginning of the year. We've done 4 months, and I thought it would be wise to come back here and try and see what's happening on the stock market and how you can maneuver your way as you continue with your investment journey. So probably we can start by looking at how the stock market performed in the first 4 months of the year. For those who remember, we started the year with the market valued at about $317 billion. And as of Friday, the 30th of April, the market was now valued at about 540 billion Zimbabwean dollars. And one would want to know by what percentage has the market gained? And I'm glad to tell you that the market has gained about 70% in Zimbabwe dollar terms. So from 317 billion Zimbabwean dollars to 540 billion Zimbabwean dollars, that's a 70% gain. And I think that's a very good return for investors, especially those who bought at the beginning of the year and they're enjoying the full 70% gain. And then I know Zimbabweans being Zimbabweans, we use a dual currency, and people would want to see whether their investments are worth it when you then compare in terms of what sort of returns that they've made, and in terms of US dollars. So in US dollar terms, people have got different rates. Some are at 100, some are at 115, some are at 120, and so on and so forth. So in US dollar terms, using the official rates, it shows that the market is gained by more than by almost 70% if you're using the official rates, because we've moved from, I think when we closed the year, the rate was around 82, and it has moved to 84. So you've gained about 66% in United States dollar terms. However, I know people are using other rates that are higher than the official rate. So if you are to assume that at the beginning of the year, our rate was around 100, that's the parallel market rate was around 100. So you'd say the market was valued at about $3.117 billion, United States dollars rather. And then you'd also say now that it is at 5 billion, it means that the market is valued at about $4.5 billion. So if you do the maths, you'd see that the market has gained by between 40 to 50% in United States dollar terms, which is a really good return there, especially when you consider that inflation has been slowing down during that period. We saw in April, inflation came, year-on-year inflation came out at around 194%. But year-to-date inflation, when you're then looking at price movements between January this year to April this year, you'd see inflation is around 20%. So if you have made a 70% return in Zimbabwean dollars versus inflation of about 20%, you can actually see that you've made around 50% return there on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. So that's a very good return. I think in Africa, if you're comparing in Africa, I think the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange has been the biggest mover in terms of returns. So that's a very good return for investors there. Others would want to know how many people are invested on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. There are so many people, but I think this is an interesting one, especially for retail investors. When we started the year, we had about 3,000 in retail investors using the ZSE Direct, which is a new platform that was introduced in around last year when we reopened the market, I think around August. So August to October, thereabout. We closed the year with about 3,000 retail investors. I'm glad to tell you that the number has increased, and it's about 5,300 retail investors, which is really good for Zimbabwe, considering that the 5,300 investors that I'm talking about were probably not investors before the coming in of ZSE Direct. I know that there is another platform that is also where retail investors can also use. That's the C-Trade application, and I'm sure if we were to get the numbers from there, we could actually see there is some increase in terms of the number of retail investors. So you are not alone in this journey. There are so many like you who are also we have also embarked on their investment journey, which is something that we encourage here in Zimbabwe. And then in terms of are people really putting money on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange? I'm glad to tell you that in addition to what you have put yourself, there is about $12 billion that has been put on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange between January and now. 12 billion Zimbabwe dollars in those 4 months. And I can tell you that there is no any other 4 months. We look at it from the previous years. This is the best 4 months the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange has had in terms of turnover, in terms of the funds that have been invested. This is the highest 4 months turnover of about $12 billion. And I can tell you that when you compare it with last year, the whole of last year, investors put in $17 billion, that's Zimbabwean dollars, on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. But so far, they've put in about $12 billion, which is, I think that's 70% of what we did last year. We've already done it in the first 4 months of the year. So that tells you something that you're not alone in this investment journey. A lot of more people are putting money on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, also including institutional investors. And some would say, why are people putting money on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange? Well, there are so many reasons why people put money on the stock exchange. Probably there are limited options in terms of how many investment opportunities are there. Probably the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange is seen as the easy one, the most liquid one, and the easy to access, as well as accommodating the retail investors that we are talking about. If you want to go into property, into the property or real estate, you need large sums of money. But when it comes to the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, with 500 Zimbabwean dollars you can invest, with $1,000 you can invest. But when you want to go into retail, you might find it difficult to find any. In fact, you won't be able to invest into the real estate sector with just $500. And then you look at the money market. I think that it's the same. The returns that are being obtained there, they are negative real interest rates that investors are getting from there. So the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange is seen as the go-to market for those who want to invest in. So good news, about $12 billion already invested on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. And then now the biggest thing I know, I say that the market has done its as of Friday, which is the end of the trading month of April. The market had done about $540 billion. But the bad news, sort of bad news anyway, there are some people who bought their shares when the market peaked at about $561 billion sometime in March. The market reached $561 billion, and a lot of people bought when the market was at those levels, and they are still to recover. While some have enjoyed the gains, those who bought, especially those who bought at the beginning of the year, they are enjoying this 70% gain that we are talking about. But there are some of our fellow investors who bought at $561 billion in terms of the overall market value, and the market has since come off. It came off even to below $4 billion, and then it recovered to about $500 billion. Then it came down again to below $400 billion, and then again it went back above about $500 billion. So as you can see, up down, that's volatility. It's like a seesaw, and a lot of fingers were bent there. A lot of investors got bent there, especially those who bought at the peak of 561. They are yet to recover. When you look at, for example, one of the instruments that has traded on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, which is the ETF, it reached a peak of $2.16, and then it came off to even around 165 thereabout. And some people bought at $2.16. Those people are yet to recover. They are burning, and some of them are disgruntled, especially when they are retail investors. You talk of other counters like CPZ. We opened the year with CPZ being one of the best performing stocks last year, and this year it hasn't done well. It has been coming off, and some people bought on the pretext that it was going to repeat what it did in 2020. Unfortunately, it hasn't been like that so far in the year. And then you look at there's so many other counters that haven't done well since the beginning of the year, and then there are others that did very well in the first month of the year. They reached their peak, and like this ETF that I talked about, which got to about $2.16, and then they came off in February. They came off again in March, and they are now recovering again in April. So the theme there, if you're listening carefully in the last minute or so, there is volatility on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. Stocks are going up, down, and we call that, when we're playing games when we were young, we would say it's like a seesaw or a yo-yo. Those things up, down, and that's what's happening on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. So for new investors who have just started their investment journey, they bought at the peak and now they are in the they're smarting in losses. They would be asking to say, what sort of strategy to